Welcome back, everybody. Season 4 of Crunch Time with Kruck. As always, your host, Jacob Krukenberg. And to my left this time is none other than Mad Max, Max Williams. How's it been, Max?
Man, it's been going good, Kruck. It's been a while. It's been a while, but welcome back.
I see you repping the Bengals shirt.
I am. You see this?
You know what?
Might not be popular around this area, but you know.
I am a Bears fan, but I want the Bengals to beat the Chiefs. I think that would be a really fun upset. Let's jump right into things. First thing on the ballot is NFL. We have two big games coming up, the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship. Max, which one do you want to tackle first?
Well, Kruck, I'm obviously going to try to talk about my Chiefs Bengals. It's a very important game. And I'm repping the shirt, too, so it's pretty obvious there. But to be honest with you, though, it's going to be, last game, obviously, between these two teams were in Week 17, right? I was actually at that game, bro. Literally there at that game, physically. Very good game. Obviously, the Bengals got on top, winning 34-31. And if you remember, Jamar Chase in that game was going off on that defense. He had 266 yards total. And I think if you're the Chiefs, they got to figure out something that secondary stop now. That has got to be their number one priority if they want to win this game. They got to stop Jamar Chase, but also they got to find other ways too, right? It's not just going to be about Chase. It's going to be about Boyd. It's going to be about T. Higgins too. I think those two receivers are going to possibly have a big game. But I'm going to mention this too about my Bengals team too, is the defense for Cincinnati the past couple of weeks. A lot of people talk about the offense and how they've been, but the defense has actually been very good the past couple of weeks. Over the Raiders, they won by a gaming interception. In that game by Jermaine Pratt, they made them win to go beat the Titans. And then when they played the Titans, they got a big interception at the end, won by a game-winning field goal by Evan Money McPherson himself, Kruck. And, that's what I like to call him. But I think that's going to be a key in the game, is how they adjust. Remember, in the first game, they only allowed the Chiefs 3 points in the second half. A high-powered offense. That's a key in the game. A lot of people are going to mention that. I think that's going to be a big key to see who's going to win. But obviously, I'm still scared, Kruck. You know what I mean? You're still playing Mahomes. You got all the weapons, and the defense is up there. So we'll have to see. I think it's going to be a very close game overall.
Overall, I said I'd like to see the Bengals win, and I have the stats to back it up. Looking at it, Joe Mixon on the ground is going to be a force to be stopped.
Yeah, can't mess with them.
I mean, looking at this guy, he's averaging, he's averaging 51 yards per game in the postseason, but we all know he can put up bigger numbers than that. This dude is a rumbling, stumbling, bumbling, halfback. He's going to be fun. He's going to be a great guy to watch. But you mentioned it, the connection between Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow is something that should not be taken lightly. Those two still have the LSU blood running through their veins. They're going to be lethal. They're going to be a fun team to watch. I'd like to see them win. Looking at the defensive stats for the Chiefs, defensively, they're giving up a decent amount of yards. And that's not something that you should really be awfully proud of.
No.
If I can pull it up.
From my point of view, I'll say this real quick, Kruck. I think the key of this game, is going to be who's going to have the ball again. And I remember this when I watched the game. A lot of people don't remember this, but how the Bengals did with time of possession in that last game against the Chiefs, not giving them the ball back with about 6.5 to go was huge. And that kind of made them, I think, win the game overall. I think that was a big key to see what was happening between both teams. And I think it's going to be interesting to see with the Chiefs defense what their adjustments are, right? Because obviously how they came off that Bills game against the Chiefs, I think it's going to be a wear and tear. A different kind of wear and tear overall on this team. I think that might have a little effect in the beginning of the game.
Absolutely. Looking at the Chiefs' defense, the big thing that's going to be going on in this AFC Championship game, they've given up an average of 28.5 points per game in the playoffs. Looking at it, teams that go to fourth down against the Chiefs have a success rate of 100%, 6 for 6 when it comes to fourth down.
Wow.
But third down, 13 and 30. So the defense holds its ground on third down. If they choose to go for it on fourth down, it's not looking too great. Rushing attempts, the Chiefs give up 83 yards per game and usually 1 rushing touchdown per game. I think Joe Mixon might be able to blow that stat out of the water and send these guys home.
Yeah, I agree. I think Joe Mixon will be another big key in the game. I think, definitely. I think in the running game, I think the Bengals have the edge over the Chiefs at the moment. That's just how I think with how Mixon's been playing, just how the team is. So I don't know though, Kruck. I think it's going to be a very close game. Even though I'm a Bengals fan, right? Even though I think they might have a chance to keep it close, I just think that somehow, I think the Chiefs for real will try to win this game. You know, it'll be a very close win. I say it's a high-scoring game, but like maybe it comes down to a field goal or something like that.
Absolutely. Moving forward to the NFC Championship, we have the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Los Angeles Rams, a battle for California.
Yeah.
Max, who you got in that one?
Well, I mean, before I make my pick, I'm just going to say a little bit. I think this game's going to come down to a lot about Matthew Stafford. I think he's got to be, because everyone's got to know about how he's going to play it. Remember, the Rams got him to do this for his job. He got him for this moment. I think he's got to show everyone because Stafford in the past 2 games when they played the 49ers have not been that great. First game, they lost 31-10, Krug. That was in San Francisco. And then you look at the other one, obviously they lost that game because 49ers needed to win that for a playoff game. And that's going to be a big key too, is how are they going to try to rematch those 2 losses? And I think Cooper Kupp's got to be a big player. I mentioned I still think he's one of the top receivers in the league. I mean, I really do. Behind Devontae Adams, just how he runs and his routes. So he's got to be a big part against a stifling good defense that 49ers have, especially on the D-line.
Well, Cooper Kupp did win the trifecta this year, and no, we're not talking about horse racing. The trifecta in yards, receptions, and touchdowns, leading the league in all 3. Cooper Kupp will be a big thing, but as a Bears fan, we had to play Matt Stafford twice a year for the last I don't know how many years. And he was always a solid quarterback with just no team around him. He's got the team now. He has people. Looking at his receiving core, he's got Odell Beckham Jr., he's got Cooper Kupp, he's got big players like Woods. He's got the people to throw to him. Sony Michel on the ground, he has been absolutely electric.
Yeah.
He's the guy that you want to hand the ball to when you need a couple yards. Also, they have Darrell Henderson Jr. He can get the job done too on the ground. But I do think this will come down to Matt Stafford. Looking at the 2 teams comparatively, the Rams averaged 27 points per game in the regular season. The 49ers averaged 25 points per game in the regular season. So this is going to be a close game. The other game, the AFC Championship, I could see it being a 10-point game. This game I could see coming down to a field goal, last-second field goal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, especially with this game. And we also can't forget about Aaron Donald. We cannot forget about the Rams' defense as well. You know, I think that's another key in just how they're going to bring pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that's another key to watch in this game. And Kruk, you also mentioned all those running backs too for the Rams, right? Now also you get back Cam Akers back healthy as well. You get Cam Akers back, Sony Michel, so that's all 3 good running backs that you have. And that's why I'm picking the Rams in this one in a very close one. So I think the Rams are just, it's their time. I think they're mad they've been losing to the 49ers twice already in this season, the regular season. I think and they're hosting the Super Bowl. So what else do you want if you're the Rams? This is set up perfectly for them, in my opinion.
Well, if you look back to season 3, I picked the completely wrong World Series, so I don't want to jinx it this time.
Oh, yeah.
But I've got a Bengals-Rams Super Bowl.
Bengals-Rams Super Bowl. I mean, hey, I think it could happen, you know what I mean? I mean, for me personally, Kruk, if I had to choose, you know, as my fan or not fan hat, I'd probably say it would possibly the Bengals 49ers. But it's probably, in my opinion, it could possibly be the Chiefs and the Rams.
Absolutely. And now moving forward to Avila basketball, both women's and men's basketball. They haven't been setting the world on fire on the men's side. On the women's side, they've got some big accomplishments. The first accomplishment we need to recognize, Maddie Morgan scored her 2,000th point in the last home game that they had. Congratulations to her.
Yeah, congrats to her. She's been doing it all year, Kruk. She's just got that sniper mentality, and she's just, you know, she's been doing a great job overall.
And as one of the main announcers, you know, me and then Joe Van Amberg being the 2 guys usually calling the games, you know, I get a front row personal seat watching these games, and I got to be honest with you, Max. I love Avila to death, but they don't have a bench on the women's team.
They don't.
They average 8 points off the bench, and that's going to come back to be their Achilles heel. It's going to stop them.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. I mean, I kind of mentioned, you know, obviously we get all the talk about Maddie Morgan, but obviously one of the other starters, right? And you know this too, Ainsley Tolson. You know what I mean? The William Jewell transfer. I mean, I personally think she's made this team another step up. You know what I mean? They elevated this team to another level. I think just how she plays, how she makes the team better. But, that's obviously a worry, right, Kruck? Because you can have Ainsley scoring about 35, 40 points or something like that, if it happens, But then how is everything going to happen for them? So obviously, coming down this stretch, especially a big game tomorrow, right, against a very good team in Sterling, how is that going to affect, the women's side?
Absolutely. Looking at the so-called coach's view, basically the printout of all the miscellaneous stats possible, Maddie Morgan is averaging 20 points a game. Ainsley Tolson is averaging 19 points a game. Tiffany Davenport, the new point guard that they picked up as a grad student, is averaging 15 points per game. Tatiana McCree averaging right around 9, and then Emily Baldwin is going to be averaging right around 5. Once you get past that, the bench is averaging 7.5 points. You cannot have a successful team if you're averaging that few points off the bench.
I agree. You need depth on your bench for sure. And I think that's something, obviously, the coach has got to think about. You know what I mean? Obviously, that starts with, recruiting and other things. I think she's going to take that into consideration. Just look at it. But, for a team that was 2-21 last year, Kruck, and now they're coming at and they're 15-7, I think they should be proud of where they're at right now. And they're doing a hell of a job, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Switching over to the guys' side of things, looking at the guys' side of things, it's not so much their bench, it's their chemistry on the floor. Now, yeah, they can all be good bros off the court. They can hang out all the time, but on the court, there's only certain people who look good with certain other people. They only look comfortable. Like Eric Smith Jr. and Dante Simpson always look electric. Jalen Dinkins is always going to be that corner three-point shooter. But when you throw in a young guy like Kilpatrick or another young guy like Adam Barbary, they look like they're lost in there. They're trying to catch up with the other people. They're trying to hop on the same wavelength as them instead of creating a different one that everybody can share.
Yeah, I mean, team chemistry is important, right? You got to have that team chemistry in any type of sport, right, to be successful. I think, though, Kruck, when I look at this team right now, they're 8-16. They've obviously at the moment been on a 5-game losing streak. But out of those 4 or 5 losses, they've only lost by 10 points or less.
Yeah.
So very tight losses. And I think that's something, they got to figure out something to just find that out for the morale. Obviously, having a very couple of tough losses is going to hurt a team. And I think that's going to be something that they got to keep in mind, especially, just finishing off the stretch. It's probably not going to get above 500. It's going to be tough for them to, possibly for seeding or whatever.
Yeah.
But just try to find a way to finish the season strong. I think that's possibly what their goal is, and hopefully they can figure that out here the latter half of the stretch of the season.
Absolutely. And looking forward to both of those games. If you want to tune in, make sure to check AvilaAthletics.com or at Avila Athletics on Twitter to get the latest updates on all of those games, whether you watch it, listen to it, or you just follow the updates on Twitter. Well, we're going to head to a short break, and we're going to be back with our special guest, Dr. Norwood. So, we'll see you in just a bit. What's up, everybody? We're back from the break. As always, Kruck and Mad Max at the table. And we're joined with a special guest, one of my professors this year, Dr. Norwood. How you doing?
Doing well.
We love having you on. And you actually bring a unique side of sports to the table. Max and I are both athletes, and you actually have a different kind of role when it comes to sports. Would you mind explaining?
Absolutely. I'm by trade, I'm a sports psychologist, sport performance psychologist. So I work with athletes, all different walks of life, from the pro ranks all the way down to elementary school kids, believe it or not. Basically, what I do is position people for success, both on the field and off the field.
That's great.
That's awesome.
And you had some experience in some pretty big basketball schools like KU. Like, what was that like, helping out at KU?
It was cool. It was really cool because, as we know, basketball at KU is a religion pretty much. And so it was cool to be around that culture of Coach Roy Williams first, and then Coach Bill Self, and just working with some of those student athletes was just a blast.
Man, that's awesome. I didn't actually know that. It was very cool to hear about that. I mean, I guess when you talk about the whole idea about sports psychology, right, being an athlete, there's a lot of things that come with it, right? There's a lot of things with how, the mental side of it, the toughness side. Just, I guess, talk to us about what do you think it takes for an athlete, nowadays, especially on the mental side of things?
I think the first thing, we talk about this in class quite a bit, is accountability first, like taking full responsibility for preparation,
Right.
full responsibility for being coachable, just all those things, because once you get to a certain level, everybody's pretty darn good. So it's those little small things that are gonna make a difference. So in class, we talk about nutrition, we talk about stress management and proper training techniques. So we talk about this, and rest, sleep as a secret weapon.
Yes.
So we bring that all to the fold and look at, you know, performance psychology and performance as a holistic practice, basically.
Absolutely. Earlier in the show, we talked about the 2 NFL games happening to, this upcoming weekend, the AFC and NFC Championship. Which team do you think, as a whole, going into this weekend, has the best chance of winning on the mental side of things for each game?
Wow, I would probably say, I'm a little biased here because I'm born and raised in Kansas City, but I would have to say the Kansas City Chiefs. Just simply because of, when you look at 13 seconds, and nobody gave them a chance right there, but I think they all believed in each other and said we can do this. And so I think that kind of momentum, knowing that, hey, if we have each other's back, we can do this together. So I think going into the championships and then the Super Bowl, I think hopefully they can pull that off because of belief in one another themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is a good point. I mean, I'm also thinking there's another side too, you know what I mean? Obviously with that game, that was a long game, right? Went into overtime, both teams probably, how will they feel after the game? So I guess that's another thing too to watch out for. I mean, I guess I'll answer the question too, Kruck. I mean, I don't know, I think the best team that I think probably is well rested, you look at it, I think it's probably the Rams. When I look at the Rams, they started off hot and they look really good, but then all of a sudden Tom Brady got back. But how the team came back overall and how they function, I think with Matt Stafford, there's something about him this year and how this team is for the Rams that I think is going to be very good. And obviously, guess what? They're hosting the Super Bowl this year. So there's another incentive, right, for that team. There's another incentive to see what's going to be best for them overall. And I think, to me, that's a team that I think right now, to the mental side of things, that's the one I'm looking at so far.
I think you have a great point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can't argue.
So, looking at sports psychology, the leadership aspect of it, how big of a deal is it to be able to be a leader as well as to be able to follow leaders on a team?
Oh, wow, that's a great point. I think great leadership entails great followership. I think someone like a Patrick Mahomes, who believes in coaching Andy Reid and coaching Eric Bieniemy, I think he understands the importance of, I'm an expert at what I do, but they're experts at what they do, and so I gotta follow what they're putting out before me and execute that. So I think that's a huge portion of sports that, a lot of folks, unfortunately, in sport, because they've been so good for so long, they don't understand that great coach can make a big difference, or that great quarterback can make a big difference, or that great center on the line can anchor the line and make a big difference. So that's a huge, being able to follow the people that know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I mentioned, leadership's an important quality, right? Leadership in anything you do, and especially for a part of a team, is very important overall. I guess in your journey overall, and how you see, what do you think, who do you think has been the best leader you've seen, or someone that you that has that leadership quality that you've kind of seen in sports overall?
God, sports overall, I would say someone like, I love Steph Curry right now, because I think he just plays with so much joy on the court, and I think that's so infectious. I think he's just great. You can see him cheering on the sideline when he's not in the game. When he's in a slump, he's still cheering for his teammates.
Keeps going, exactly.
He still keeps going. I think someone like a Patrick Mahomes. I think someone, the guy at Cincinnati, the quarterback,
Joe Burrow. Yeah.
I think he's someone that's coming in and saying, you know what, we're going to change the culture of the team. He's a winner. And so I think those guys really lead by example. Yeah. Tom Brady, of course, I would say Tom Brady is a great example. He sets the standard, sets the expectation, and says, we're going to do things differently here.
And the fact that he keeps doing that at that age too, right? He keeps doing that at 44, 45. Imagine just how he's going to keep leading other people in the future, right? To keep doing it at that age. It's just, like you said, remarkable for sure.
Absolutely.
One of my last questions, as a former athlete yourself, you were a point guard in basketball for a long time. At the point guard position, you almost have to be the leader on the floor. You have to be the person running the offense. Was it easy for you to be a leader, or was it something that you had to work at?
I think it was easy because my father gave me some good leadership qualities. My mother gave me some great leadership qualities. And it was an expectation that when you're distributing the ball and making everybody else better, that you need to do that all by example. So it was pretty easy. Growing up, I was a gym rat and I was a junkie. So I just kind of just became just an expert at that craft. And so it was easy for me to step in and lead, and I enjoyed it all my life, pretty much.
So hearing that, it looks like you're a basketball fan, right? You know, it seems you're a point guard and everything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I guess like what, you know, there's like what favorite do you like? What do you like? Do you like point guard, shooting guard, like forward, power forward? What's like your favorite position overall on the basketball court?
I think the game has changed so much that really is, everything's a hybrid now. I mean, you got some big guys who are just nailing threes. And, you know, and I hear sometimes Charles Barkley and those guys, you know, talk about the big man role anymore. I love the point guard because of the distribution. I love the point guard position because you just really, the reason I love the Golden State Warriors is because they pass the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they really make basketball. So I would say, yeah, point guard's my favorite position. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for the first episode of season 4 of Crunch Time. For those of you looking for more content, make sure to check out our YouTube page, Apple Podcast page, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcast. Until next time, this is Kruck, Mad Max. We'll see you around.